Alright y'all, it's your boy Alan back with another video. I'm in the Zhongshan district in Taiwan. It's an area I haven't spent much time in, but I'm really enjoying it. It's more low-key, not super touristy, and that's usually how I like to travel. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about just some free-flowing thoughts and comparisons of traveling in Japan versus Taiwan. Because at this point, I spent 3 weeks in both places already. And I think I can first start with Japan and some things I noticed. I think Japan is probably one of the best places for a tourist, especially an American tourist. It's just so different from America, and I think it's just a great entry point for Westerners or Americans to Asian culture. It's super clean, super safe. The food is really good. It's a tourist's dream. There's not many inconveniences. The transportation system is pretty seamless. It's sprawling. Maybe some parts of it confusing, but relatively, it's really intuitive. I think the cost is, the housing's okay value. I wouldn't say it's like dirt, like really cheap like Vietnam or even Bangkok. And especially if you're staying in Tokyo, I think the value can get kind of off because, you know, you're getting a really small spot and you're paying a good amount of dollars for it. Yeah, I bet, because when I was in Japan, I was probably paying around, you know, $70 to $100 a night for a hotel room. The hotel room is very okay, but you know, I think for transportation wise in Japan, the public transport subway system is really good, pretty intuitive. It's really cheap. If you want to take a taxi or Uber, it gets kind of expensive. If you are taking a car, especially in Japan, it's pretty pricey. The food is relatively affordable and the food quality is really good. I think, you know, if you want to get a nice dinner, probably like $10 to $20 a person from my experience. And then if you want to eat at 7-Eleven or Family Mart, you can also do that for a very high quality meal for maybe $5 or under $5, or definitely under $10. And the food's really good there. And then the people are very respectful. They are very conscious of how other people, how their behaviors affect other people. And I think that's really good for a tourist and just anybody in general. Like, they're very respectful in that sense. I have heard that Japanese people are really nice on the surface, but I think if you want, they might be thinking like, fuck this guy on the inside, but on the outside they're like, they're not saying shit or not saying much, which is good for me because I don't really need to talk to them. I mean, I guess they could silently judge me, but whatever. So the people are really nice, and they're all really helpful. In terms of language, I think people in Japan, especially in Tokyo, or all the touristy areas like Kyoto, a little bit less, but in Osaka, like, most of the people have basic English. You can get by and do things as an American. And then technology wise and payments wise, I think Japan is, since when I went in 2019, I went again in 2026, they've really adopted credit card systems really well, which has been really nice. It's just super convenient not to carry cash all the time. And, you know, if you are an American or some tourist, often you have to go to ATM and withdraw. And if you don't have the right bank, then you have to pay a fee. So it's pretty nice to just use credit cards, Apple Pay, Visa, MasterCard. So overall, I think Japan is an absolute goated place to visit as a tourist. It's just so clean, peaceful. People are very nice. It's safe. The food quality is insanely good. And you just, housing is very okay. I mean, obviously, if you pay more, you get better. But I like to have good value things, and I think the housing, especially in Tokyo, is like okay value. And I was there during cherry blossom season, so I could see it being more expensive than usual. But overall, I think Japan is probably one of the best countries for somebody to visit. And I think it's a great gateway for a lot of Westerners and especially Americans to Asian culture. And it's kind of one of their first introductions to being in an Asian country, and it opens up, I feel like, the rest of Asia, especially from my experience of going to Japan, and I've just been all around Asia since then. Now let's move on to Taiwan, because I've been here for 3 weeks to a month now, and I've been here many times before that. I think the value on housing is, I think, worse than Japan now. For some reason, I think Taipei, the city, is very small. So if I'm just thinking about Taipei, right? The city is tiny, and I think I'm visiting during a peak tour season. So just like a few nights ago, I was staying in a bunk bed in a hostel for like $75 a night. I think I got kind of ripped off, but it was definitely one of the better hostels I've been in. And it was very, expensive. And I recently just got a hotel here in Taipei City in Zhongjiang district for $80 a night, and it's really nice. So I think when you're in Taipei, the weekends are super expensive. That's why I think my hostel was so expensive, and then the weekdays are a lot cheaper. So I was able to get a 4-star hotel for $80 a night. But I did book the day of, so I think booking the day of does, I booked a few hours before, and I think that really does help with the pricing. But in general, I do think the Taiwan housing is worse value than Japan, because most of the buildings are pretty old and outdated, and it's just expensive. My budget's around $60 to $100 a night, and the spots are okay, they're not that nice. And I think I'm in a bad season in Taiwan right now. A lot of tourists here, and it's really driving up the cost. But maybe, if you guys visit during a different season, let me know if the prices drop. But overall, it has been bad value, and I like good value things. And then what is really good value that offsets the expensive housing costs in Taiwan are the night markets and just local Taiwanese food spots. You can get a really good meal in Taiwan for under $4. Braised pork and rice is probably $2. You want to get a chicken and rice plate, probably $5. So it's really good quality. And then I think the food's really good quality. I think if you go to chain American restaurants, chain restaurants like McDonald's is usually pretty cheap. Subway was relatively affordable, but if you go to a Chili's or TGI Fridays, especially in Asia, for them to differentiate on why as a customer would you just eat at TGI Fridays versus a local Taiwanese spot, and the perception of American chain restaurants is more up-leveled. It's nice dining here, and it's actually more expensive because I had a meal at TGI Fridays yesterday, and it cost me $20. That's a pretty pricey meal here in Taiwan. So you can really pick and choose what you want to eat. If you go to a night market, you spend under $5 and have a great meal. So just keep that in mind. But if you're gonna go to certain chains here in Taiwan, it can get pretty pricey. And then I think the food is, I'd say, pretty good. Like most spots, if it's like a hole in the wall spot kind of like this, you know, I think it's gonna be, if you eat at a place like this, right, it's usually gonna be at least a 7.5 to maybe 8.5 out of 10. And I think some of the best spots in Taiwan actually aren't even on Google. You gotta walk through the streets and just eat. That's what I've been doing. And even in Japan, some of the best spots I went to in Japan, I was just walking around and then I popped into a shop and got some food. Not everything you see on Google or TikTok, it's gonna be like the best ever. And then I also do think, I move on to the people section in Taiwan. I think once you get to know Taiwanese people, like face-to-face interactions, talking to them one-on-one, they're super warm and friendly. But they are also, I don't know, it's like might be a Chinese culture thing. They really like to stare. In American, there's like certain like spatial boundaries. I think it's okay in Taiwan. They do keep that in mind. But if you go to like a mainland Chinese people, I think the spatial boundaries disappear. And then there's just certain mannerisms that Taiwanese people do a lot that are really annoying, like burping really loud in line. In Japan, that would never happen. Like a Japanese person, like I mentioned earlier, are very self-aware of, you know, how their actions affect other people. Taiwanese people don't give a fuck. They're gonna burp, they're gonna blow their nose hell loud, they're gonna cough right next to you eating a meal. And that shit's kind of annoying sometimes, but it's kind of in the culture for them to not give a fuck, it seems like. So it's kind of normalized. But I think in Taipei, people are, you know, it's a big city, so people can get kind of grumpy, but it's nothing like grumpiness compared to New York. And Tokyo, I think people are nicer on the surface. In Taiwan, I don't think anybody's outwardly rude, but I think Taiwanese people are really warm on the inside once you get to know them. So yeah, I met a friend out here in Taiwan, and I met him at a club one night, and then we've been hanging out quite a few times, and he's never allowed me to pay for a meal. I'm like, wow, what a guy, dude. Shouts out on my boy Sean, thank you very much. And then I think what I've also noticed there's like this homelessness problem in Taiwan, especially around Taipei main station, which is like the main train station in Taipei City, where there is like bathrooms and shower. I think they have like places for people to bathe, but there's so many homeless people. And then even when I'm walking around Zhongjiang, I just see some guy laying on the ground. In certain districts, there's just like people on, just like homeless people. It's not as bad as like San Francisco or New York City, but in Japan, I probably maybe saw like maybe 3 homeless people. But here in Taiwan, I've seen like, shit, I want to see at least like 70 plus homeless people. And that's been an interesting development, because last time I was in Taiwan, I did not see this many homeless people. Maybe I didn't go to the right areas, but I did notice homeless is more of an issue here than Japan, and even Thailand as well. But I think like going back to the housing point in Taipei is very expensive, bad value like I mentioned. But if you go to other cities like Taichung or Hualien, the value is amazing. Like I got a 4-star hotel, $60 for 2 nights. The room is massive. So maybe tourism is getting more popular here in Taipei, so it's really been driving up the housing costs. But the food costs have stayed really affordable. And then also what's really nice here versus Japan is are the Ubers and the transportation. Like you can get a cab, drive you like 10 or 15 minutes. It costs you like $3 or $4, which is pretty good. In Japan, I don't even know. It would probably be like 20 bucks. I don't know, $10 to $20. I know it's way more expensive because I would avoid taking the cabs or cars a lot in Japan just to save on costs. And then, I think the subway system or public transportation system, like the buses and the MRT in Taiwan, it's way more simple actually than Japan, believe it or not. It's really easy. It's like pretty goated. It takes you basically anywhere in the city, and it's really cheap, safe, clean. I think it might be better than Japan's system because it's way more simple too. And that's not saying much because Japan's system was pretty simple as well. So overall, that's my take on Taipei versus Japan. Also, I think Taiwan is way less mainstream than Japan. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing at times, but the nature is pretty immaculate. I haven't spent much time in Japanese like nature and going to like the outer skirts or different cities where it's more nature focused versus just being like Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. But I've had the opportunity to do that in Taiwan. It's beautiful. So if you guys ever visit Taiwan, don't just be in Taipei. Go to Hualien. There's another great area that I personally visited. I'd say it's a hidden gem. So if this video blows up, it won't be a hidden gem anymore. And Taiwanese people, warm people, they have kind of dirty manners. There's a lot more trash here also in Taiwan versus Japan. Like I just see people like leaving their boba teas and just like throwing trash on the ground, which is like, I don't know, like a Chinese or Taiwanese thing. They don't give a fuck sometimes. I'm like, come on guys. But there's also this annoying thing in Taiwan. They don't have trash cans like Japan. And the thing about Japanese people is they're more willing to take the trash home and throw it away. And Taiwanese people have less patience for that. So if they don't see trash cans sometimes, they just throw that shit on the ground. And I can empathize with that, but there's a lot more trash here in Taipei City than like Tokyo, for example. But overall, that is my breakdown on Japan versus Taiwan. It's pretty rare. I'm usually pretty surprised when I see so many tourists here. I'm like, how'd you guys end up in Taiwan? It's so random. Like it doesn't seem like a huge tourist destination, but obviously that's not true because the housing costs are really expensive here. I think I'm in the hot tourist season. But, if it's your very first time going to visit Asia, I think Japan's like the go-to call for a lot of people. Makes a lot of sense. It's like so different, but as you get more familiar with Asia, Taiwan is a great option. It's so safe. Like you walk around at 2 a.m., not be worried about much. I do think Japan has slightly better fashion than Taiwan, but also I don't think out of those Asian countries, I think if you want to shop, you probably should shop at Taiwan and Japan. I look at this fashion here in Taiwan, like I don't think it's that like fashionable, frankly. But if you want to find the best place to shop for clothing in Asia, it would be Korea. Japan's okay, Taiwan is even worse. That's also something I noticed. So that's my free-flowing thoughts of Japan versus Taiwan, comparing transportation, people, costs, value, cleanliness, and let me know if you guys have any similar experiences or anything else to add to this comparison. And thanks for tuning into the Stream of Thought video. I'll see everybody in the next one. Peace.